In the modern era of European League of Legends, two names stand above the rest, untouchable in both scope and scale of achievements, G2 Esports and Fnatic. But never have these orgs been in peak form at the same time. In 2015, Fnatic were the best team Europe had ever known. A perfect split, an incredible Worlds run. Fnatic were amazing. But they didn't stay that way. With the departure of Huni and Reignover, 2016 Fnatic was left ravaged and weakened. But from their ashes rose G2, young and hungry with the power of a rookie Perks and Trick. They dominated Europe. And with the addition of all-star bot lane Sven and Mithy, they were untouchable, even versus Fnatic. For 2 years, G2 dominated. And you can meme it all you want, but that was a dynasty. That G2 was untouchable. But just like Fnatic in 2015, it would not last forever. When Sven and Mithy left, G2 Esports was lost. The team desperately tried to get back to the top of the standings. But as G2 rose, or G2 fell, Fnatic rose. Caps, Broxah, even Bwipo, unlocked and unstoppable. 2018 was their year. Back-to-back victories and a world final. And I don't need to tell you about 2019. You've been here. You've been here with every step. You've witnessed the dominance of G2. It is undeniable. But Fnatic are right behind them, fighting neck and neck every step of the regular season. They might be underdogs, but they are ready and willing to match G2 with every blow. So I say again, in the modern era of European League of Legends, there are two names that stand above the rest, untouchable in both scope and scale of achievements, G2 Esports and Fnatic. But never have these orgs been in peak form at the same time, until now, until today. So get ready, because today we witness a series 5 years in the making.
Now that it's playoffs and every game matters so much more, is when we're gonna really step it up, because we know it from the past history and that this is where champions are created.
I think we've become the most eager region in the world. Everybody's looking to win. Everyone's trying to innovate. Everyone's trying to find their own way of winning the game. And I think that's what makes our region the best.
All the 4 teams in the rest of the LEC are among the best teams in the world. I don't really would be content with anything but winning it all.
Chased him all the way from mid lane.
Here comes Bwipo, round 17, fight!
Mid back onto Scar. I cannot believe it. Crowd shots down. He's dodging, but it doesn't matter. Huge shield, can he get it? Upset goes through, finds the kill, shut down.
When we came together in the beginning of January, we were not the players we are today. We've improved so much in a very short time, and if we keep going in this pace, we'll just become the best Europe has to offer. I most definitely think that Rogue is the future of the LEC.
Here we go, Vander off for the flank, he finds it, it's a beautiful engage, everyone goes in, Humanoid is left, holding his head in his hands, he doesn't even get to participate, the Akali is useless, Roy takes down Kame, and Humanoid dies in the end. Rogue have destroyed Splice.
Saying we're the future of the LEC, stuff like that is just delusional.
Rogue is good, but I think we are strong.
They're putting the damage out! Oh, just give it to them! Just take it all! Abinage tries to trade in, Jizuke caught out! Oh, Abinage! Is he going to be able to do it? Jizuke trying to take this one! No, it's Abinage!
It's always a special feeling going up against G2. It's some of the best players in Europe matching up against each other. There's a lot of history between the organizations, between players. You want to show that your team is better, and you know more than ever this is why you want to do it for your fans.
They're on the hunt! Destiny comes out from Nemesis, chasing onto Caps. He took his spot, he'll take his life. Fnatic are destroying G2!
Still the same as we said before, like we are the bullies, so like all kids from the school, they want to like group up and try to beat us up, but we are like high school bullies in elementary school.
The person of the team, Yasuo damage is just too much. Kiana will move in for the kill. Oh no.
Welcome everyone to Berlin, Germany for the matchup we've all been waiting for. G2 and Fnatic, two of the best teams on the planet, go head-to-head for a spot in the final. This is going to be a battle for the ages. Hello everyone, I'm Sjokz, joined here by Deficio and by Frosk to cover this epic day, which hopefully will turn out good and not a stomp either way.
True. I mean, hey, it would still be exciting if it's a good stomp. You know, if it's a cool stomp where one team is playing super well, I still think that's okay.
I mean, I don't know about you, but that Drakos intro gave me a bit of chills, and I haven't even been here for all 5 years of it.
Yeah, exactly. The Drakos introduction paired with the video, I think that has set the mood. So now let's dive into the nitty-gritty of what we've seen in playoffs so far, starting with yesterday, where Schalke 04 and Rogue, they faced off in a dramatic series. I think it's safe to say that Rogue had the hearts of many of the viewers and the momentum, but it wasn't enough for us.
Yeah, it was certainly a heartbreaker for Rogue, but what a performance from Schalke. Individual members really having their heyday, and I want to focus in a little bit on odoamne in particular. If you are talking about a Schalke series victory, he is the last name that's ever going to come up. But he got his first pentakill in a career of 4 years, and he popped off. They respected him in bans, and he kept finding the power picks all the way through.
Was it needed? If odoamne didn't play like that, would they have possibly not won the series?
I don't know. I do think they needed some carry potential in some of those fights.
That's very true. I think obviously also Upset ended up having a great series overall together with Ignore down in the bot lane. We were looking at Schalke's bot lane quite a lot, saying that's really the strongest point. We didn't expect odoamne to actually be the MVP because he didn't look that great throughout the entire year. But he said himself as well yesterday, this was his best series all year long.
Yeah, he had said before that he didn't think he was playing to his peak. Well, this absolutely put the cherry on the victory for him. The MVP of the series was odoamne. And now the question is with this lineup, showing off that they don't only need Upset, they don't only need Abatrick and Ignar. Odo can carry too. How far can they go in these playoffs? And maybe also looking forward to the regional qualifier.
I mean, ultimately, this best of 5 should show us kind of what the gap is between the other teams from playoffs and Fnatic versus G2. I'm going to say probably a safe bet that there's probably a pretty big gap, but
I love how you're like, probably.
We don't know if the gap is to both Fnatic and G2 or if it's, you know, only towards G2, if they're just far above everyone else. I think today we might learn something about that, but realistically, Schalke will not be favorites going into the next potentially 2 games against Fnatic and G2.
No, but they will play their hardest and hopefully give us an upset. Now, of course, we said goodbye to Rogue, an absolute heartbreak for them. And for now, it is going to hurt, of course, because these guys, they had such a nice or beautiful journey, I should say, throughout summer, pushing past so many expectations. Yesterday, there were some unfortunate events, you know, the Larson move, as well as maybe not all players being as in sync as they usually are, but hopefully they can get past that.
I mean, they were a bit more under pressure than in the Splice series, that's safe to say. But I still think no matter what, if you are Rogue and you are these players, you're going to look at this summer split and say this was actually great. This was the turnaround we needed in 2019 as Rogue. And for rookie players coming into the big stage and actually surprising a lot of people. We looked at this lineup initially, and I don't think anyone expected them to fight for a spot in Athens.
Yeah, unfortunately, it just kind of feels like too little too late from Rogue, and that these rookies are having to pay the price for the mistakes that the veterans made in spring, about the fact that they don't even get a shot at the regional qualifier. So it probably feels bad, but it's not just about your summer split, it's about your holistic season, which is why Origin, Splice, and Schalke can feel pretty confident about that gauntlet.
Yeah, I think we would have all loved to see Rogue get a shot at that gauntlet as well, but that is just the way, the wheel turns, and sometimes we can't have all our favorites in there. So let's take a look at the bracket, because with their win, Schalke earned a spot in the semifinals where they will face the loser of G2 versus Fnatic, of course, in the new system. G2 Fnatic will play today. The loser will go to the semifinal, play Schalke 04, and get another shot at the final. The winner here today goes straight to that biggest venue, or biggest stage rather, the final in Athens.
It's a soft double elim bracket. It means that basically every single best of 5 matters. You get more chances to see the top teams make it all the way through the finals. I love our system. I know that it can have a bit of a tight turnaround in terms of preparation, but ultimately you are guaranteed to see the best team in the finals, and you are guaranteed to see super action in Athens.
Yeah. We're missing, of course, OG in there, Deficio, but
we'll take the gauntlet.
It is how it is. You'll take the gauntlet. Interestingly enough, in 2019, no playoff series yet has gone to 5 games. So does that mean we're going to get them all now? I hope so. NA's gotten like 2 or 3 or 4. So
I mean, I always hope a final is all the way to 5. I think that's definitely the greatest. But we've always had like one team just kind of been pretty far above the others if
Yeah.
you look at least the last couple of finals.
And it feels like it might be the same today. In any case, you can watch.
Schalke good, but calm down.
You can watch G2, Fnatic, and Schalke in Athens next week. Those are the 3 teams that are locked in, so you can get your tickets if you want to come check out the summer finals at riot.com/Athens. And ahead of the games, there is so much to do. All these booths, all these people you can meet, these celebrities. I hear Becca's going to be there, Deficio maybe.
Get pictures.
You can get
say
like
hi.
these fake tattoos of Poros.
Or
play
us,
1v1s.
I guess, if you want our faces. You
Or
can probably get
Deficio's
that.
face. You know, the sky is the limit.
No
And
promises.
more info about everything you can do before and after the games are at eu.lolesports.com. Now that we've got all of that out of the way, Deficio, I think it's been all pretty easy for you. You've returned to the broadcast. We've kind of made it easy. You've done what you always do. But now we're going to crank it up. We're going to put you in the hot seat.
Yeah, good luck.
There you go.
Gonna go
Very scared now.
over here.
Because ever since the last time we spoke, of course, you know, some things happened. Your team didn't exactly perform that well. So we're just going to dive into it.
Someone's got to be under pressure. Now, Deficio, I'm a super big fan of lightning round, so you have to answer these questions as quickly as possible. First thing that comes to your mind. Sjokz, you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Okay. Motivation, work, improvement, team. Which one?
Motivation.
Yoga or pizza?
Yoga.
TSM or Rogue?
Rogue.
Okay. Quick shot or Peke?
Pass.
Come on!
Pass. Picker. Sorry, Trevor.
Which European team will win Worlds?
G2.
Why does Origin suck?
Pass.
When does Origin play?
Next Friday.
Okay.
On Friday.
That also
Just on
answered
Friday.
the last question,
On
I
Friday.
think.
Okay, Jat or Vedius?
Jet, 100%.
Papa Smithy or Vedius?
Papa Smithy, 100%.
LS or Vedius?
LS, 100%.
Ender or Vedius?
Obviously, Vedius.
Frost or Vedius? What? You guys
I thought you were going to keep going, but you just dissed Ender.
Hey, come
straight
on.
up.
Vedius needed something there, right?
Okay.
So that's the line. That's where you put it.
Who do you
Ender.
miss the most out of the broadcast team?
Vedius.
Aww, sweet, sweet.
Get off the
Can I
chat.
stay
Yeah,
here?
no,
or-
you can
okay.
stay on your throne. Thank you. We know
Man,
a lot more. So was that nerve-wracking or was it just another day at the
I mean, half the questions were really difficult.
What do you mean, yoga or pizza?
That one was easy. TSM Rogue, easy. Then it got really difficult the moment you started including Origin and so on.
Just wanted to get it out of the way. Of course, we'll see you in the regional qualifier. We're sure that you're going to do very, very well. And talking about the regional qualifier and Worlds, all around the globe, teams are fighting to represent their region at Worlds 2019, which, of course, will take place in Europe. 9 teams locked so far. We're seeing them here. And you know, it's getting interesting. We know more and more names. So I wanted to look at the teams that had already qualified and look at who will be the biggest challenge if they meet European teams, or 4 European teams, rather. I'm saying it for all European teams. You could, of course, also pick a specific team. So who do you guys have your eye on?
I mean, on this wall, I think the easiest one to lean towards is the Korean representatives in either Griffin or SKT. I'm pretty sure SKT is probably going to be the team that jumps out to most people with kind of the history surrounding that team and their absolute dominant destruction, march, whatever it was, tear through the gauntlet. They destroyed every single team.
Yeah, I mean, also the only team at MSI who managed to get G2 all the way to 5 games. I realized I said that they only played 2 best-of-5s, but they still managed to get G2 all the way.
Only one.
They got a G2 all the way to 5 games. Obviously, very different styles they're playing, but I think SKT for any European team will, of course, be a challenge. Question is if they're actually stronger now than they were coming into MSI. I think there is a lot of debate there to be had. Griffin in a best-of-1, so if you get them in groups, will obviously be quite a challenge.
What do you think of Vedius' criticism of SKT?
I think it's very fair. I actually think, and it's also when you talk to a lot of European players right now, like a lot of people actually feel pretty great about Europe's chances going into Worlds.
Dangerous.
Like we look at the other regions, and I don't think there is a reason to be scared, like in the past, where it's like if you dare to say you could beat SKT, someone will just come and like remove you instantly.
Hey, SKT, even in their winner interview, FLICKR said that he wanted to meet G2 to get that rematch. Also not on this graphic, but Fun Plus Phoenix also just locked Worlds. But another team I want to talk about is Team Liquid, because that is the competition we saw at Rift Rivals where the European teams had the most trouble with. Is that fair to say, Frosk?
It was also the MSI finalists.
Yeah.
You know, they did get blown out by G2 in that final, but they beat Invictus Gaming, and they are clearly head and shoulders above the rest of the NA competition, at least in my opinion of them. Specifically, I want to focus in on their mid laner, Jensen. I know that Doublelift is getting a lot of praise and that he also feels that he's playing out of his mind very well right now. But Jensen, for me, has really shown an evolution over this year, particularly from MSI to now. I think he's clearly made a lot of improvements. I love watching his Akali now. Before, it felt a little bit inconsistent, kind of hit and miss, but now I think he really has a grasp on the champion, and he's just coming to life. Like, EU mids, man.
Yeah, EU mids, man, indeed, even if they're somewhere else. Final thing, maybe, Frosk, you know, you are now in EU, but always have been our LPL expert. How strong do you think the LPL is going to be at World?
Oh, what kind of answer do you? Okay.
Honest one. That's
Your
what
opinion.
we aim for, generally.
Real talk, I watch a lot of the LPL. Europe is China with a brain, and I know that sounds bad, but that's kind of how it feels. China, especially FPX, are still a very aggressive team, and I think mechanically they have the ability to match a team like G2. They will play what will look like a similar style visually to a lot of fans, but with different priorities on what lanes they like to play around. But they do not have the same thought process, setup, or consistent, clean performance that Europe showcases in multiple teams across the region.
Okay, well, only Worlds will tell. We can theorize as much as we want, but tonight we're going to see something real. That is the two best teams in EU face off in a battle that will go down in history. G2 versus Fnatic, the MSI champions versus the Worlds finalists, and the first time we see them face off in a best of 5 in 2019. I think that in and of itself is pretty exciting.
I mean, it's the difference between saying champions versus finalists, and that's why this matchup still, it's like, yeah, we're really excited to see Fnatic versus G2. We don't really know how close it's gonna be.
Right. I mean, based on regular season, 2-2, Fnatic always found ways to actually punish G2. First in the early game, and in the one game we actually showed before this broadcast started, they also managed to win the late game against them. So I think Fnatic have shown they have the tools, at least in best of ones. The problem is just G2 in playoffs, like Cap said in the opening video.
Yeah.
Now we take it like really serious, and there is an extra gear. We tried it ourselves in spring. It's not the same team you play in the regular season as the one you're facing in playoffs.
I think one of the stats that VODs threw out yesterday is the only team to take games off of G2 in a best of 5 has been SKT. And like, they haven't played that many best of 5s, but that just kind of goes to show how untouchable this team is.
Well, we'll see in predictions later, but are you guys then ready to dispel this notion of, yes, Fnatic is strong, and they can't be as strong as they were last year because Caps is on G2 now, but they're still very strong. And G2 is just on a different planet. So we're hearing a lot of it's going to be so close. It's the best they've ever played versus each other in the best of 5. But is that really the truth if G2 is so much better than anything else in the league?
I think Fnatic, they know of certain ways they can actually punish G2 because they've already done this twice now. They've failed it themselves, mainly through the early game with someone like Broxa and Hylissang actually forcing a lot of plays on very aggressive laners. So I don't think Fnatic will go into this game feeling like they don't have a chance or they don't know what to do to beat G2. The problem is you always have a plan when you face G2. And sometimes, very quickly, that plan can get thrown out the window because they just out-muscle you.
They're having fun. They're relaxing. They're doing a happy dance, or it's hand
Brox is ready. He knows, man. It's all about him here. He needs to gank.
For me, it's kind of like the issue of, yeah, we've seen Fnatic take down G2, but how many times do they get the exact circumstances they need to be able to execute on that? Because it feels like when you're going to this, the safe money will always be on G2 because you know that they have multiple different win conditions that they can attack you with.
I wonder if anyone voted for Fnatic, actually.
That will be the question. Like, how much did the Fnatic fans come out to skew the vote?
Well, I will say, though, they've shown 2 different ways of beating G2. One in the early game, one in the late game. Different kind of compositions as well. One was win bot lane, one was play away from bot lane. So we don't know, actually, if there are other ways for Fnatic to do this in a best of 5 series.
Now, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the matchup and the analysis in just a little bit. But first, we've got a spicy duel in the top lane. And for more, here's Laure with Bwipo.
Thank you very much, Sjokz. Laure here, and joining me right now is Bwipo ahead of the big game Fnatic versus G2 coming in later. Thank you for joining me, Bwipo. Everybody knows that it's a big deal whenever you guys are facing each other, but for the first time, I think you guys are coming at the same strength. So what are your chances knowing that today?
I think it's going to be an explosive game. I think that both teams are going to have to play towards their strengths to take the match eventually.
Okay.
So in either case, I think I'm pretty confident that as long as we follow our own game plan and follow what we're good at, we're going to have a good chance of winning.
What do you like the most about playing against G2?
It's always a fight. I think we're always looking to win the game. Neither team is looking to back down and wait until someone makes a mistake, and I think that's what makes it most fun.
All right.
It's very enjoyable for me to play as well because I love people that come towards me and not only having to overextend to try and fight people.
Do you care about the whole rivalry between G2 and Fnatic at all whenever you have to play against them?
When we have to play, not really. It's more like after playing and maybe before playing that you're like, it would be nice, you know, it would be nice to win a game against these guys who's always so cheeky, always looking for banter and whatnot. And I like it, don't get me wrong. It's just, it feels even better when you beat them.
All right. Now, I know that many people expect G2 to take this one once again, but give me 3 reasons right now why do you think you will beat G2 today?
Number 1 would be Hilly Sick, number 2 would be Craps, and number 3 would be Top Gap.
All right, well, I'll take this. Thank you very much, Bwipo. Good luck on the upcoming game. Now back to you, Sjokz.
Thank you very much. So to repeat, he said Hilly. So Hilly playing sick, probably.
Yes, Hilly being great.
Craps instead of Caps.
Yeah.
And top difference or top lane advantage. That's what it was, right?
Yes, the gap top lane.
The gap top. So reactions, agreed or not?
Number 1 and 2, 100%. I agree with.
All of those have to happen.
Yeah.
Number 3, 1v1, no, but maybe with help.
Who knows? In any case, you at home can also join in on the discussion. As always, we want to know who wins spam in chat, G2 or FNC. Usually Fnatic is pretty on there in the fan vote, but I think maybe we'll get a different result today, and we'll also take a look at our predictions so you get some inspiration as to who to vote for, and it is G2 wins across the board. Spoiler alert, a 3-1, a 3-1, and a 3-0 for Froskurinn.
You guys went safe.
No, I didn't go safe. Here's my reasoning. At MSI,
okay.
Yes,
I'm
G2
following.
beat Team Liquid. 3-0.
Yep.
If you say 3-0 here, you de facto say that Fnatic is worse than Team Liquid, and I cannot accept that.
No, if they actually last like 76 minutes in a game, and it's still a 3-0, theoretically by your analysis.
No, I am obviously joking, but I do think there is a big advantage here for G2. So let's dive into the ways where Fnatic gets the first game, or hopefully 3 games for them in their favor. And let's take a look at how they beat them earlier in the season. It was very early on in the split, and it was all about the early game.
It was week 3. And we had Fnatic actually going with the Karma bot lane for Reckless, and it was all about Hylissang roaming and then Broxah and Gragas perma-ganking solo laners. It worked super well. Renekton for Bwipo got very fed in the game, and they actually managed to get far enough ahead, so even if they lost a couple of fights, they were still in the lead and could eventually win. That obviously is not what the whole split shows, that one single game, but it did show to us Fnatic's early game is good enough to really challenge G2, because these stats are all season, so against everyone, and not just G2 versus Fnatic specifically.
And we're going to be talking about early game a lot, and when you look at stats like that, that almost seems to point out that like Fnatic are a late game team and G2 are an early game team, but that's actually just how far ahead G2 are statistically and everything. The reality is that Fnatic aren't playing early game because G2 also play early game, and you must do that. That just works with Fnatic's play style. These are 2 of our best early game teams. The game starts from minute 1, level 1 for both of these squads. So watch the level 1 setups, watch how they're scouting out and placing vision, and watch how it impacts the junglers.
And then also just look towards like how much impact can both junglers have towards lanes, right? Mid lane specifically, where you have Nemesis sitting in there against Caps, is a great example of very different players, almost opposite in the way they actually approach in the game. But we just heard Bwipo say Caps can have very bad games. I think Nemesis is focusing a lot more on just kind of playing for push and not necessarily for kills. If he goes for kills against Caps, I think he's going to lose out.
Yeah, and what a matchup that is in the mid lane. Of course, Nemesis now in Fnatic. Caps used to play for Fnatic, and we don't need to beat that dead horse. But I still think Nemesis probably feels a bit self-conscious about going up against this guy, as does every other mid laner.
Yeah, and going back to what Deficio was just talking about, if you look at Nemesis's champion pool for Summer Split, it's not that he can't play assassins. We've seen him pull out the Aurelia in Spring and things like that, but his 2 most played champions are Twisted Fate and Akali. He is playing for the push priority, and that's very different than about how they move him around the map.
Exactly, like Twisted Fate, Corki, you can push lane. You are, with Corki at least, fairly safe in your laning phase. And you need to do that for someone like Broxah to shine, which is where the early game, we're really looking, the junglers, of course. Broxah specifically, when he has a pushing mid lane, which is actually why he often likes to gank mid early to guarantee this priority, then he suddenly will not get punished, even if he's a bit predictable in where he wants to go. And he's open now to go to either side lane. Nemesis can join him, and I'm looking at Broxah getting that help in order for him to succeed in this early game, which is very important for Fnatic.
And then on the other side, you have Sjokz versus Caps in terms of that 2v2 dynamic. When you see Sjokz ganking the mid lane, chances are it will result in a kill. Caps is much more oriented in playing...
he'll do it on his own.
On those assassin champions, like you said, he can also do it on his own, but it's kind of the different reasons why these teams go to the mid lane. I still think that G2 have a bit more flexibility in terms of the tape that they've shown us that they can play either style, the push priority or the kill priority in terms of where they want to rotate around the map. But more likely than not, it's that devastating kill combo of Sjokz and
I
Caps.
love that as that TLDR, you know, when Broxa and his job, it consists about helping the lanes, getting the priority, maybe getting the push. With Sjokz, it is always getting the kill. Talk to me about this guy in the jungle, Sjokz, who we've heralded as probably the best jungler of the split, big candidate for MVP. Is it not just super easy to jungle for a team like G2, or are there any secret difficulties?
I think Sjokz would say that you could make an argument, you know, if you have winning lanes, it's easier to jungle, but I could also turn around and say if you have 3 lanes who are all playing aggressive, who are all actually playing to win lane, you're needed everywhere. Because if you're not showing up when Wunder is trying to 1v1 this other top lane and the enemy jungler does, Wunder will die. And then suddenly people look towards Sjokz and saying, where's your early game impact? So I feel like he's almost like a babysitter. Like he has to make sure that nothing goes wrong. He keeps everyone in check on the G2 side. Otherwise, teams have actually found early success against the lanes, not against Sjokz specifically. In that first game, they played this split when Fnatic won. Sjokz did not have a good early game. It was a famous flash over the wall for top lane and then miss the axe and run away.
The ref behind him. Oh.
Yeah, it was terrible, right? But it was big for Broxa. If that happens in this series, Fnatic can get early leads. But I think Sjokz, he's too smart and he's too experienced and he reads the map very well. So it will not happen in 5 games.
That's the key thing, his ability to read the map. And it's not just about the early game. I know that that's a lot of the conversation and it should be a good trendsetter for this series. But I also think that G2's mid game is absolutely disgusting and Sjokz is still a big part of that. G2's ability to run a 1-3-1 or a 1-4. Sjokz is usually the guy protecting his team, not just in the lane phase and being a gank-heavy jungler, but allowing them to eat and set up objectives so that simultaneously, when the dominoes start falling for G2, it feels like they all fall at once. Things snowball very quickly out of control.
Yeah, exactly. And we have so much positive to say about these G2 players. So I want to look at what can make the key difference if you're Fnatic. We talked a lot about the early game already and keeping that snowball going. Well, my eyes go to Bwipo and Hylissang, 2 players that embody the fact that if they get going, they keep going. But if they start feeding, they may keep feeding as well.
To quote a famous man, Bwipo, it is an explosive play style. When Fnatic are in a game, you know that a bomb is going to go off. It's just a matter of who is actually holding it. And it's because Bwipo and Hilly will always look for plays. They are high-impact playmaking guys, and you can always look that they're going to go in, blitz, try to get to that backline, and make it happen.
So you say that, you know, a bomb will go off. The question is, G2 can they actually defuse it? We have seen in the past that G2 as an organization can struggle with that. However, in this game here, if you shut down Hylissang and Bwipo, who will be playing aggressive, who will be constantly looking to actually engage and start fights, you actually make Fnatic a fairly passive team because the other 3 players on their lineup are not the same kind of players who are always looking for that 50-50 play. It's always why when I look at Hylissang, I see sometimes one of the greatest engaged supports in Europe when he's allowed to roam and he's out of his laning phase. But I also sometimes see a support who gets punished hard for overextending.
There's so much to say about this matchup. One more thing I want to talk about before we get into picks and bans and into that first game is that extra factor that G2 brings to a best of 5, a best of 1, a best of whatever, and that is their flexibility. The most unique champions played in Europe in the regular season, and this is just such a question mark. You drafted against them before. How do you even start?
Yeah, I mean, luckily it was Andre's responsibility, and I saw a coach just sit and sweat for like hours and hours and hours when he was like trying to figure out, okay, if we pick this, they're gonna pick that. The problem is when you do this against G2 is, first of all, you don't know how deep the champ pool is. Second of all, some of the matchups that you believe go one way, so that's why you're drafting this way, will actually not go that way against G2 because they have individually so many great players, and the synergy they have in these combinations they build suddenly means that what you thought is actually not true anymore, at least not in this specific matchup. So there's always a meta getting defined in a G2 best of 5. And the question is, can your players adapt just as much as the G2 players.
So many questions, and this is the first best of 5 that Fnatic is going to play versus G2 in the playoffs. It could turn out to be one more if they meet again in the finals, and maybe G2 drops the match here and we are all just completely wrong. I certainly hope that it's going to be 5 games in this match. 2 Titans, they face off on the Rift in the next chapter of EU's fiercest rivalry. Let's get to the action.